It's maybe the least of this episode's problems, Clay, but I don't think the title makes sense to this. My understanding of a prodigal daughter is that it's someone, or a prodigal whatever, is that it's someone who leaves, wastes their life, and then comes back to their family who embraces them wholeheartely. It's like a biblical story. I don't know if you have any experience in your own life or anything being prodigal or anything like that, but I think it's the least of the episode's problems, but it still sticks out to me as kind of an issue here.
Yeah, it's probably is the least of it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm real tired, and this was a real big waste of time for me. So this is not going to be a fun podcast.
We're going to talk about Prodigal Daughter right after this.
Accessing library computer data.
Out there are no saints, just people.
All right, everybody. So the episode is called Prodigal Daughter. It's the 11th episode of the 7th season, aired on January 6, 1999. Written by Bradley Thompson and David Weddle, although we'll get into who actually wrote it. Directed by Victor Lobel. In this episode, Ezri returns to her home to ask her family's help in finding O'Brien, who has disappeared while searching for the widow of a dead friend. And everyone is very sad about it. I guess the main thing here, Clay, is that this is one of those episodes that they had an episode planned. They tried to write it. It didn't work. And then a couple days before they had to start shooting, they had to scrap everything and start over. And they used
is the episode that they scrapped, was it everything that gets talked about in this episode but doesn't actually happen?
No, the episode that got scrapped is Cisco sees like a future version of himself who tells him that something catastrophic is going to happen.
Oh, boy.
It's totally different, but apparently they couldn't get that story to work. They apparently wrote it and realized it had no conflict, so they scrapped it and wrote an episode that has no conflict in it to replace it.
But this one worked like a friggin' well-oiled machine, apparently.
But it's one of the cases of they had a couple days to write it. It's credited to Bradley Thompson and David Weddle, but I think the behind-the-scenes thing is that every writer had basically 10 pages assigned to them, and they just wrote it and stuck it all together, and that became the script.
Oh, God.
I'll throw it to you. This is probably this has potential to be one of the worst scripts that the series has done so far, I think.
Yeah.
Even other bad ones have bad ideas. Like the Move Along Home, the game one from the first season. Yeah. It was just like, at least there's like an idea there or something, and it's just a terrible script, but this is just fails on pretty much every level.
I paused it exactly halfway in, almost exactly halfway in. Which is about 20 minutes, which is where they drop the where O'Brien shows up and they drop the stinger about the woman is dead. And I could not believe that the entire 20 minutes before that had been talking about shit that nobody cares about, talking about characters that nobody gives a crap about because they don't know who they are. And like, not
don't even see a lot of them. You don't see many of the characters.
No, you don't see any of them. And then Ezri goes to her house and talks about, like, the whole cold open is like, well, looks like you're gonna have to call your mom.
I think it's just a lot of people saying "gah" to varying degrees of intensity.
listing off different types of gawk, like she's Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Bam.
But she goes to her house, and it's like 10, 15 minutes of not even family drama, just talking to each other.
Yeah. You know what?
They're talking about the brothers' art career.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he killed somebody.
You know what the dialogue reminds me of? People say it's soap opera-y, which it is, but I think it is something more specific. Are you familiar with any of like the FMV video games that were big in the 90s?
Give me a title.
Like sort of the Phantasmagoria was one where it's like they videotape people and then they insert them into the game and you talk to these people.
Yeah.
All the dialogue here. Go ahead.
The Sega CD type games?
Yeah, Sega CD with like Night Terrors, I think is a famous one.
Is that the one with Christopher Walken?
No, that's a different one. He's like a murder detective or something, isn't he? In that
you
one?
really need everybody. you owe it to yourself to look up on YouTube the Christopher Walken scenes from that video game, because if it's Christopher Walken at 11, not having any idea what's going on, it's fantastic.
Unsupported by the other people in his acting troupe at the same time. The dialogue reminds me of that just because it's a lot of characters coming in and expositioning themselves as to who they are and everything in like the most blunt way possible. It's like, oh, good to see you, Ezri. Too bad about my art career not taking off. Ugh. Hey, Ezri, I'm the asshole brother, so I actually didn't do the crime. It's going to be the nice guy just to throw you off. But like, and the mother, like, oh, I hate your haircut. Anyway, it's that kind of stuff.
I'm your mother, the one who is your mother.
Right.
These are also my sons, who are your brothers.
I birthed you all. Why do her Trill family not understand the joining process?
I have no fucking clue. I have no idea why she's like cast. She's like a pariah. I mean, that's probably too heavy of a word because that implies some sort of drama. But she's like looked down upon because she does what every Trill does.
Or wants to do,
She's looked down upon like the artist brother should be looked down upon as like the career that she chose.
That's
she joined with a symbiote and went off to Starfleet, and they're looking at her like she's a self-employed artist. And trust me, I've seen that look.
What is it?
I don't know. What's going on here?
What do you mean?
Did you come here to find me? Or to prevent me finding out the truth?
I don't know what you're talking about, so maybe you should just tell me, Chief.
The connection between the Orion Syndicate and your family is Marika Bilby. She was on the company's payroll when she died. Did you know about this?
No, of course not.
Well, someone in your family did. And since they didn't mention it, they obviously don't want us to know.
Are you suggesting...
I'm not suggesting anything. But you have to face the possibility that somebody in your family was involved in her death.
That was my, that's my fundamental, like, problem that I think could have been fixed. What it should have been that, if you're going to call it the Prodigal Daughter, Dax has to leave, and she is kind of the pariah of the family. She gets the symbiont and comes back, and her mother is now impressed with her, right? And that feeds into her brothers never getting joined, so they're seen as lesser, and like the mother doesn't respect the artsy son who wants to do something else. And then you have a little bit of like conflict between everybody that makes sense, where he at the end is like, you never expected me to do anything. Well, this is what I've done, basically. But they don't do any of that. And then Dax's thing at the end where she's like, I should have just gone home, doesn't make any sense. But you don't have, there's no conflict for Ezri here. It's just sort of random scene by scene stuff that keeps coming on. And
the thing at the end when she's like, when the last, like, when they give you that 2-minute scene at the end where they talk about the theme of the episode.
Yeah, the tag with
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
The theme of the episode is, I should have called my mom.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Like, when O'Brien does show up, the first thing I thought was, I thought this episode was about trying to find O'Brien, who possibly was in trouble because he was looking up the info about this dead woman. He just shows up, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, she's dead."
Mm-hmm.
And he said that, and I was like, "Who the fuck is he even talking?" I don't even remember what the hell's going on here. Why they give you this stinger as though the death of this woman means absolutely anything.
Yeah. Bilby, you remember from Bilby, old Bilby. Yeah, I mean, and then O'Brien, it's really just like all the problems stem from this fact that it does feel like each writer had 10 pages and no one was really sure what the episode was about, so they just kind of wrote a different angle on everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when O'Brien shows up, O'Brien is just there and he has literally nothing to do for the rest of the episode. He's just kind of hanging out with Ezri. And the mystery aspect of it is so stupid as well. Because if they're not going to focus on family drama, they switch it into this like mystery thing of who this woman was. O'Brien figures out the crime with very little evidence of anything. He's basically like, I know your family's involved. We have to check this out. This woman worked for your family. Therefore, because she's dead, your family killed this woman. That's all the evidence he has. There's no linking of anything there. He just makes this colossal jump that turns out to be correct.
very small universe in this episode, yes. But even at the end, when the brother admits it, it's like such a non-committal scene of writing where it's like they didn't even bother to work out the details because he's like, it's true. I did it. She was alive and now she's dead and I killed her. And the method that I used was deadly and it stuck. That's as far as I'm going to go into detail.
It was.
But she's dead now and it's my fault. Look at me now, Mom. My greatest pain. Even if what I was just about to say is more interesting than anything he said.
Yeah. Ted Shaw from Mad Men does not have a good off there, but it's the same as easily as O'Brien solves it. The scene is just them standing around and they're all going like, Jesus, I don't know who killed her. And Dax just turns slowly to her brother and says, did you have anything to do with this? And he breaks down immediately. There's no build. There's no...
He's an artist. He's emotional.
He's very sensitive to these things. It's an extremely bad script. It's really just like nothing... No segment of it ties in. They don't do anything with the Dax stuff, which is like whether or not there's difficulty with the Trill. It's kind of a waste of an episode because if you're going to do something about Ezri, it either
they talk about paperwork so much in this episode.
They do a lot of bookkeeping.
So much paperwork. Did you ever see? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you ever see the movie A Mighty Wind? The Christopher Guest movie.
Yes, that's the music one, isn't it?
No,
or theater troupe? Which one?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of For Your Consideration, the one after that. It's about actors. There's a scene in that I thought was hilarious that reminded me of quite a bit, where they're showing a clip from a fake cop show, and there's like dark Law and Order music happening, and like a really like low angle shot of this cop who walks over to this other cop and is like, "Hey, I don't think you filed this paperwork correctly." And the guy's like, "No, I did. I filled out the correct section." He's like, "No, you used the wrong form. So you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to go do it again." It's like, dun, 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 dun. And that's exactly how I felt in this episode. Like, you've got O'Brien sitting behind a desk with like a split lip talking about mining paperwork and this murder. And the music is like low and creeping. And it's like, ooh, this is supposed to be interesting, but it's not.
Yeah, yeah. No,
sorry, I cut you off.
It's every... I mean, just if you just go through it, it's just such a jumping. It's Ezri has to go home over this family problems. She meets her family. There doesn't seem to be any problems, but you're brought up with the fact that they are Trill and for some reason don't seem to understand the joining process, which we talked about. That moves into O'Brien finds ridiculous. This woman has been killed, which moves into O'Brien figures out that sabotage has been going on because of this crime syndicate, which moves into the family joined forces with the crime syndicate, and then the brother killed this woman because she worked for them and they weren't paying her enough money. Just the whole, the evidence of everything is so funny. O'Brien's like, I found this woman. She worked for your company. She got a raise at some point during her career here. My God, like it must be crime related. Her salary doubled over the course of a year or whatever. It's like, what kind of evidence is this, O'Brien? This is garbage. This is why he failed in that episode that's related to this, where he was an undercover cop. But he works here to repair the mines, and everything's fine with it.
There's a reason why more often than not in murder mysteries, you spend at least like a couple minutes with the person who gets murdered, because you can't really...
I guess Law and Order kind of proves that wrong, though, don't they?
Well...
If it's about the process of solving it, it can be interesting enough without knowing.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, yeah, if it's... This is not really about the process of solving the murder.
Well, the murder mystery only comes up for about 5 minutes in the middle of the episode.
Let me rephrase this. You need to have some idea of who this person is, whether or not it's spending time with them or learning about them through the process of solving the crime. You do neither of those things in this.
Yeah, well, I'd say you get to know... Law and Order succeeds because it gets to know the people who are tangential to the murder victim.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So if you don't get to know the family here in the way that they do, because they have no real relationship with this woman through this story. They just kind of paid her as a mob payoff thing. That has,
and it's not... And O'Brien never talks about who this woman is to him. Like,
Right,
he's only looking for her because it's his dead friend, and we don't even know who the friend. Have we ever met this guy, Bilby?
Yeah, it's that guy when O'Brien was undercover last season. It's that.
Oh, fuck that!
Yeah, that's that guy.
Fuck, get out of here with that bullshit. The one who was concerned about his get that.
Yeah, the woman from the picture. Who I like the episode that it undermines the Bilby thing from the previous episode, because I got the sense that his family was this honest family, but apparently she's like, hey, the mob payments aren't good enough, you sons of bitches, and she complains about getting paid enough by this family that they kill her.
Don't they have a kid too?
Yeah, they do. He's not mentioned.
What happened to the kid? He's
in the mines.
Why isn't anybody concerned about the kid whose both of his parents have been killed by the fucking mob?
Before the start of this episode, right, out of the widow Bilby, Julian Bashir, and Keiko O'Brien, who was the last person O'Brien had sex with, do you think?
I mean,
I only assume that he's hunting down Mrs. Bilby for one thing. It's all I can get my mind around.
Well, I was going to say, based on the way Bashir is longingly looking at the airlock door, I would have to say it might be Bashir.
What's the matter, Julia? No, I'm very excited that Miles is coming back. You're going to play holodeck, huh? You're going to play holodeck with him? Yes.
Kinda.
Yes, I am. All hands on deck. Let's yeah, it's a it's pretty.
Are you going to be using the Vikings program? No, we're going to be using the ancient Greek program.
No girls allowed sign on the
Romans,
door.
Rather.
I think my point was before, like, if you Ezri the problems with Ezri kind of continue here, because if you have this season, you have this new character, you kind of feel like you have to write episodes about her. But I think this episode fails. If you're doing an Ezri episode, which is a character that's appeared in the last season, and is only going to be around for X amount of episodes, you either have to do something that's really, really insightful about that character, or you have to stick her into the plots that you could give to anyone, but the plot is strong enough that she can just exist as the main character in that story. Yeah. And neither of those apply here. Her family drama is awful, and the murder mystery payoff syndicate story is probably even worse than the family story, I think.
Yeah. I thought the most interesting thing in this episode was when she was talking about the gach. Because I'm serious. Because that at least was playing with her dealing with old memories and how things aren't, the way that she felt about things as
other hosts
doesn't, as other hosts doesn't cross over to how she feels as Ezri. That stuff at least was using her character for something mildly interesting, even though it's nothing new with her.
Yeah.
But the minute she was like, yeah, I haven't talked to my mom in a while. We left on really awkward terms because after I got 8 other beings grafted to my fucking psyche, I accidentally introduced myself as Curzon, and she's just never gotten over it. What? What is happening?
Yeah, it's terrible. I watched it the first time. I didn't really rewatch this, but I kind of refreshed it by running in the background. I watched it and was convinced at the end of the episode that I had missed what the family problem was. I just assumed I blacked out and missed the line of dialogue that explained what the problem was. But I've gone on Memory Alpha. I looked through it. I ran through the episode again this morning. There is no conflict in the family. They just have a strained relationship.
Even the thing that she talks about, they gloss that over too, because she calls her mom, and the mom's like, "Oh yeah, we can't wait to see you. As long as you don't introduce yourself as Curzon this time." But seriously, we're really looking forward to seeing you at home. And she's like, "Ugh, I don't know if I can do this."
Yeah.
What is going on?
Not even. I would say the episode doesn't even really push the mother into a pressuring Ezri to stay behind and help the business.
No. Do they even have that conversation? I don't even think they have that conversation.
No, I don't think they do. So that's all.
And if they do, I missed it because I was drawing in my notes because I hated this episode.
And the other, it's all inconsistent character work. But the mother's set up as this horrible, slave driving character, right? Who's like destroying her family because she's concerned about her 5th biggest business in the sector or whatever. And then at the end, she's not even the one that killed anybody, really. So she didn't take that characterization to the end result, which would be like the business is more important than anything. It's her goofball brother who does that. And her mother can't believe that he's done that. It's just this, it's all these tropey cliche scenes stuck together, and none of it makes sense with any of the other stuff that came before it. And I understand that, like, this all comes down to the script problem. The only real thing that I enjoy from this episode is that O'Brien being there adds a glimmer of, like, sort of comedy to things in a way that I don't even think is intentional. But I enjoyed the O'Brien in the mine scene where he's looking at the little thing saying, like, this is the wrong piece with his mining hat on, and he talks to that horrible syndicate guy who couldn't do a better job of disguising the fact that he's involved in organized crime. That's the only thing I enjoyed.
That was another scene where I just wanted to put my head through the TV when it was an entire scene. It's exactly like that For Your Consideration scene where he's like, "Yep, here's the problem. It's this piece," and the guy's like, "No,
it says it's that piece. Yeah, that's the right piece."
It's like, "Yeah, but it's labeled incorrectly." I don't think so. I think it's the right piece. No, it's labeled incorrectly.
Trust me.
That was a scene in a television show.
Yeah. It was, yeah. It's
and then the guy from the guy who shows up, he's the guy who plays the shitty brother from UHF. I don't know if you remember that movie, the Weird Al movie.
No, well, I remember the movie. I don't remember him.
He's the guy who just walks out of the shadows and just gives exposition about the crime syndicate for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. To
the older brother, and yeah, that it's. We
can't have O'Brien hanging. It's just he's like, the guy's like, we can't have O'Brien staying here. He knows too much. So the guy's like, all right. The next scene, the brother's just like, hey, O'Brien, can you go home soon? And O'Brien goes, okay. And he walks off.
Even that scene, the guy's like, he can't be around here. He's Starfleet secret intelligence. The guy's like, no, he's just an engineer.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind then.
Slinks back into
the shadows. See you tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really, really, really
like how
silly.
do you write this script apparently by telephone in the 7th and final season of your show and shoot it straight and not just be like embarrassed with yourself the entire time you do? Like how can you not like get the script, get the finished script, and everybody goes, all right, well, this doesn't work.
We missed a week, yeah.
What can we do here to make this interesting? How about we just can we cast a bunch of character actors or something to make this at least fun to watch instead of just listening to people talk about bookkeeping for an hour? But they didn't. They just played it like super straight. The woman they got to play the mom seemed like she looked familiar, but I didn't look her up. She seemed like she was a guest star that they got. And they were like, she's a great actor. We're really happy to have her. And she's just reading this bland dialogue, trying to find any reason to make a connection between these characters. And it's just a dead zone. I thought for the first half of this episode, I thought this was the worst backdoor pilot episode I'd ever seen. Like, I thought they were trying to spin off the Trill family or something.
Right.
I was like, what the fuck is happening here? When they're sitting around at this house talking about family business, but not even like in an interesting kind of, shady way. They're literally talking about bookkeeping and her brother's ability to paint and how he's not good enough for the mom to be what the mom. I just couldn't wrap my brain around why they were doing this.
Here's some production team talking about it. Ronald D. Moore said, the show was already in preparation, so this was a case of first thought, best thought. Just throw it down and move on because we've got to get 10 pages done today. So boom, we just blazed through it. Nicole DeBear, who plays Ezri, said, Ira Stephen Bear apologized to me for the episode afterwards. Director Victor Lobel was unimpressed. Other than the trappings, it never felt part like Deep Space Nine. It seemed like O'Brien had just been brought in to bear witness to these events more than do anything actually in it. And that only got us to a location, and then we just watched things unfold. The feeling across the board was that there was nothing driving it. The crew became so disillusioned with the show, they dubbed it Audra Goes Home, a tongue-in-cheek reference to the TV show The Big Valley, which I assume is a failed episode of that show or whatever. Yeah, it's the same thing that we always sort of talk about, where the show production-wise now, production on the show is obviously so much of a machine that even when they get scripts like this, like it feels like there's something there. Like the acting in the TV production of it outside of the script are solid enough at this point where you don't realize how bad it is immediately. You keep thinking something's going to happen. But the script is just awful, which is, I think, like how you have to grade these episodes at this point, because if the production is going to be always improving, you're really just sort of bound by the quality of the writing in it to determine how good the episode is. And this one's just, it's a real sloppy mess, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know why you would write a family drama type episode that just doesn't have any family drama in it, and all the drama is completely peripheral action. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. Like, because I was just thinking, I was like, well, what if they had taken the core concept of what was going on here, and you've got the family, you've got the brother who's like not living up to whatever. What if you switched it and had it be like, Ezri goes home, the mother is happy to see her, she like is casting too much praise onto Ezri, and Ezri's like embarrassed about it because she's a Starfleet officer and blah 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 blah.
She was the goofball before the joining. Yeah,
and then you've got this deadbeat brother who the conflict of the episode turns out to be that he's trying to steal her symbiote or something like that.
Yeah,
so he can be the successful one or something. Something that actually matters with the characters that you've established, and not just I think
it's all. You don't even have to do the steal thing, because the conflict between the siblings is built in there, in that they say in this episode, and it's been established, that Ezri didn't deserve the Dax symbiote. She was just given it because she was the only Trill who was around. And if you have these kids, the third kid is kind of unnecessary, the other son. But if you have these two, the conflict between them would just be their mother was always overbearing to them. Ezri ran off, got this Dax symbiote sort of by accident. And when she comes back, just that pure luck of the draw has caused their mother to like her now. And the brother is like, this is not fair. Like, why is this happening? You had this random thing happen just by chance, and now your whole life is turned around in the eyes of our mother, and so I'm going to kill this person. And also have the crime happen while everyone is there, so that there's some kind of like, what's going on. It would be hard to explain why O'Brien is there, but you need to have the murder happen during the family reunion, so that it's like, oh, like this is all bubbling up into this kind of action that's going to happen.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. It's crazy. Let's take a break. We're going to play an audio clip. We'll come back. I have to pick one that's really riveting. So we're going to pick a riveting audio clip from this episode. We'll come back, read some patron thoughts, give our final thoughts about Prodigal Daughter.
Norvo was sentenced to 30 years.
I wish I could say I was sorry, but considering what he did, he got off easy.
I understand why you feel that way. But you didn't know him, Miles. Norvo was very gifted. When we were young, he had so much potential. Norvo was always the one that we all thought would be something special. And I don't know what happened. I don't know how my brother turned into... I guess I just spent so many years dreaming of ways to get out of that house that I didn't see what was really going on inside. What was happening to Norvo. The endless humiliation, the constant drumbeat of criticism, the way his heart was carved up into little pieces. I should have seen it. I should have tried to stop it.
You can't blame yourself. You're not responsible for that.
But I am, don't you see? I should have gone home a long time ago.
All right, everybody. So if you enjoyed the content today, maybe not the episode, but the podcast itself, you can support the show at patreon.com/the Pensky File. A couple dollars a month gets you extra stuff like extra podcasts, extra reviews, and all that good stuff. And plus, the Captain tiers gets a shout out. So special thanks go to Andrew Cherlog, Ben Douglas, Captain Quark, Cardinal Doomsday, Christian Michaels, Christian Pouch, Darth Mosk, David Beardmore, David K, Dwayne Hackett, Eric Johnson, HH28, IC Unicorns, Yarpy, Joint Mango, Kevin Reyes, Cal Barrett, Matt Cutler, Matt Ross, Mike Burnett, Nathan Elliott, Neil Brennan, Nick Sergi, Robert Cummins, Russell Elwood, Samuel Custer, Grim Santos, Sean, Spinobi, Tark Latif, Vault 13 Hero, and Will Yates. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Much appreciated. Patron thoughts, there's only 5 of them. So I guess that speaks to the quality of the episode. If you support the show on Patreon, you can leave your thoughts on upcoming episodes and we read them. Norman Buckwald says, interesting story to tell about Ezri's family and a sequel to Honor Among Thieves. When I first saw the episode, all I got from it was, it's okay. So Ezri's mother is a total control freak and even would be the type who wouldn't respect that her daughter got joined. Excuse me. In fact, I wish it was more about Ezri and her mother, and she visited the station instead, as she comes across as more fascinating and real than Loxana. But instead we get a crime intrigue story. I do admit when O'Brien for a second doesn't even trust Ezri, who we remember is also Dax, that is yet a reminder that this is not normal Star Trek series, at least before Discovery. Still, I liked Afterimage much better, as I find Ezri more struggling with herself as more interesting, and trying to find self-confidence, which is a main aspect of the Ezri character. How this comes up in the next Ezri episode, though, is disappointing for a different reason, but we'll talk about that later. 2.5 out of 5.
I had a similar thought when she first calls her mother. I was like, oh God, this is going to be like a shitty Loxana story. And it wasn't even that interesting. Like Loxana at least is an interesting character and brings some life to the screen. This was not even when she goes to her fucking house, everything is like taupe colored.
Yeah. Just a
There's
fireplace.
No color. Yeah, it's just all really drab and boring, and it's like they tried to get this one out. I mean, it's literally, this is what I guess they did, but it's like, it feels like they just tried to get this one out and move on as quickly as possible.
I like the back wall of their apartment is just one of those portable dividers, because they haven't built a set. They just put up a divider to sort of say, like, this is where the wall sits.
It also occurred to me, I think we talked about this briefly, but I don't know why it stood out this time. It's almost certain that one of those Trills in Discovery Season 3 is going to be Dax, right?
I would put it at more than a coin flip. Yeah, that's
I really doubt they're going to be able to resist that.
Because there's two ways you could go. There's the only other Trill that we know is the TNG one named Odan, I think. So if they wanted to get cute and not be as blunt, they would go with him, but they're pretty limited. I would say either way, we're going to get a Trill that's been previously mentioned, and Dax seems pretty likely. I think Discovery would go with Dax over the other one and just be like, look at us, we've got Dax in the show now.
You know, honestly, if the show wasn't so thick with
already doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, pointlessly referential stuff, I would be into it. You know, why not?
He'd be the perfect character to bring into that series at that point.
Especially if you need someone who can give you backstory as to what has happened in the past 1,000 years. Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, and personal experience, not just like reading a computer log about what happened, but someone who actually lived through whatever's gone on. Yep. Yeah.
You know that scene where the guy pulls out the old Starfleet flag? Is that a Trill who does that? Because if it is, that's going to be Dax.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Captain Quark says, why does everyone know about O'Brien's secret mission from the previous season? Shouldn't it be classified? Also, shouldn't the emphasis of the episode be on O'Brien and not Ezri? I think that Ezri is being unnecessarily cruel to her mother and too forgiving to her older brother, Janelle. Her mother may be a taskmaster, but how is she responsible for any of this happening? As for the plot itself, it's fairly uninteresting with twists you can see coming from a mile away. Nice landscape shots of the planet, though. The landscape shots of the planet are pretty good. Very Star Wars.
Yeah. The exterior of their house was nice looking, too.
Yeah. Zim Nuclear Wessel says, buried in this episode is the tragic story of a determined woman who left her home planet in order to escape the parasitic slugs that steal her people's bodies, only to lose her daughter to them because the Starfleet doctor didn't appreciate the horror of the situation. Yeah, I mean, if they had, it would have been more interesting if they had got into why this family doesn't like the joining process, why they have a negative relationship with it or something. But
yeah, that's a good point too. I guess that subtext is there, but it's like it is very subtext. It's barely even. That's a kernel of a good idea that is just so trampled on by everything else that it's may as well not even be there.
Yeah, I would say it's an idea by happenstance. It's just like the situation. Knowing what you know about the characters and the way that the plot is set up implies that something is happening there, even if it doesn't mention it in any kind of direct way. Matt Ross says, today's family drama on this very special after-school special of DS9, Ezri's backstory. It's not terrible. I mean, overly terrible. It was interesting until it all fit until it all fit very neatly together with Billy's widow. Does it resolve the syndicate and the family business? No. Will Ezri's brothers or mother be okay? Probably not. Will we ever hear about this again? No time. The annoyance of Cisco, scene or not, I thought was well done. Bashir's bro love for O'Brien will always be good for a snicker. The things that I thought were humorous is when the cop delivering O'Brien admits to beating him, and then that they're having coffee together. And the look of Sunrise about the wrong parts. And the look of Sunrise about the wrong part? Really?
I think it's probably supposed to be surprise.
Surprise, yeah. The look of surprise about the wrong part. Really. Nothing is ever mislabeled, ever? Right. Oh, about the drill part. Must be a criminal act. You have to wonder, though, about Billy's wife. He allegedly had honor. She sounds like a gold digger. Poor Bilby's out, but they're... Poor Bilby, but they're dead now. Matt Ross, your autocorrect is killing me here. Just more drama.
Stop dictating this into your phone, Matt.
Siri, post on Patreon. Just more drama than anything. You can easily skip this episode. I would agree with that. Last comment, Will Yates. I get that we have to learn as much as possible about Ezri in a short time frame, but this seemed like a bad soap opera or an episode of the OC. I did really like DeBoer's acting a lot when her brother was admitting his crime and when she let her mother know that she was onto her. I also like that since she's not really an old friend, O'Brien wasn't sure if he could trust her motives. It probably would have been fun to see a Horta or two in the mines, though. One thing I couldn't figure out was if New Sydney was a city on the planet or if it's an entirely different planet. I give this a meh out of 5. Thank you, patrons.
Yeah, I will say the best part of it. I thought she acted it very well. I thought she did a good job.
Ezri, DeBoer or whatever.
A lot of times in episodes like this, you can feel the actors not even really giving a shit. But,
yes,
Miles O'Brien. I thought everybody in it was fine. What'd you say?
I would say Cole Meany is kind of Cole Meany brought a different perspective to it. I guess
He definitely matched everybody else's energy, which was like middling at best.
Yeah. I guess I liked having O'Brien in this just because if he wasn't there, it would have been totally lackluster in what was going. Like he's sort of solving the crime and he's fixing the drill and all that stuff. His involvement, I suppose, is weird because if it's an Ezri episode, he steals all of the scenes that Ezri would need to do to solve the mystery on herself. Mm-hmm. He's just there taking up screen time. So it's probably not a good decision to have him there, but I liked his characters. I like the character being in this situation for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Let's rate this one, I guess. On a scale of 1 to 5, Clay, what are you going to give Prodigal Daughter?
1.
I agree. Terrible script. Awful.
Yeah, this is objectively one of the worst ones we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think so. Just fundamentally doesn't work. It's like a purely technical problem with everything that's going on here.
And it's, to be fair, it is a purely technical problem, but it is a purely a very specific technical problem where it's like it looks fine, it's acted well, music is fine. I guess I didn't really notice it.
Yeah, the effect shot, the planet shots and everything look nice, and
Yeah, it's purely the script and purely the basis of the entire story, which is it's like building a beautiful house on a crappy foundation, or building a nice taupe colored house on a shitty foundation.
Yes.
But which is, I think it's a season 7 kind of terrible episode where, as we were saying, everything, it looks like the machine is running and the machine is running well. And so what they put out has this veneer of quality, but when you actually take a second and look at what they're doing, it's not good.
Yeah. The engine's been tweaked, but they're putting in like low octane gas or something into this high running engine. It's just sputtering the whole way down. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about Prodigal Daughter. A bad Ezri Dax story. I think things like this only strengthen my idea that Ezri Dax shouldn't be on the show anymore at this point. If you don't have anything to say,
I don't know if I'd go that far.
What's that?
Because I don't know if I'd go that far because I think there's a good episode there. I think we talked about it. I just think they didn't pull it out. This is not an episode I would point to say, oh, she shouldn't be on the show, because the failing of this episode has nothing to do with her character.
I guess I would. I sort of watched an episode like this, and I feel that if you replace an actor or actress in the final season of something, I almost don't understand why you would give her so many stories at the expense of characters who have been there for so long.
Right.
So in that case, I say that she doesn't belong on the show anymore because I would so much rather see any of the other characters get a focused episode than her.
Sure. And
I don't mind her existing, but I think that if you do something like this, that character has to just become a backgrounded character who's not prominent, but is there as a supporting role. Mm-hmm. And if you give her this episode, like, I'm so much more interested in like what Odo or Kira is doing, like, or a Better O'Brien episode, a Quark, a Worf, a Bashir.
Well, I can tell you what Odo and Kira are doing. They're just sitting at a table, gazing into each other's eyes longingly for the rest of the fucking series.
I'll give you something to gawk on. Let's see here.
Ew.
That's my Ezri problem. It's too late, too little, and too much effort going into a character that I don't feel the need to explain that much. But I agree with you at the same time that there is meat on the bones that they could have explored. All right, we're done with Prodigal Daughter. I think Emperor's New Cloak is the next episode. But if you guys enjoyed the content, patreon.com/the Pensky File. Otherwise, you can click all the social media links down below. Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. I think that's it. All the Real Ripe stuff has gone up. We're recording this on the day that Vampire in Brooklyn went up. On Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street will go up. So you can look forward to that. And I think that's pretty much it for all the extracurricular stuff. Clay, do you have anything you want to say?
The final, I believe this will be, by the time this is up, the final episode of season 2 of Bat Ass will be up. And Sean and I are going to take a bit of a break, and then we're going to do a Q&A episode where we talk about Curse of the White Knight, which is Sean's book he's currently doing. So if you want to shoot us some questions, you can do that on Twitter at Batass Podcast with the hashtag Batass, BATTASS, or shoot us an email at batasspodcast@gmail.com, BATTASSpodcast@gmail.com.
There we go. We're done. We're done with this episode. We'll be back with, I'm going to double check just so I don't go off on an error. It is The Emperor's New Cloak is the next episode. So the final Mirror Universe episode of DS9 is up next.
Okay, just back-to-back knockouts.
Yeah, I know.
Because I imagine this one's going to be stellar.
This one's also bad. I won't spoil anything, but it's another bad episode. It's not only a Mirror Universe, Clay. It's also a Ferengi episode.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The show is kind enough to combine the two into one episode to get it out of the way. Oh, my
God. I guess that's one way to look at it, yeah. They got to get this out of the way, so I may as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Guys, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.